welcome to Sutures and Cents, where Surgiflow meets soft cost and Tegaderm meets top line. I'm Mark Copeland. He's Ryan Pistone. And we're going to do something different this time. It's just going to be Ryan and I, because we want to talk about a topic that affects literally everyone, but us in particular. And it's sort of colorectal cancer screening. I'm of the age where I've already started because I'm 54 years old now. And so I'm actually coming up on my second or third round of screening that I'm supposed to be, I'm required to do for good health. And Ryan has a unique background in that Ryan works for a company that's part of our overall arching company that has a product in that space. And Ryan really knows not only the statistics and the prevalence, and we both know a little bit about the scariness of the disease, but Ryan can talk to it in a way that I think makes sense to everybody listening. So Ryan, welcome to your own podcast.
Yeah, no, it's great to be here. And now I get to be on the other side. Yeah. And the one thing, yeah. So like Mark said, I work for a company. We're not actually going to mention it during the episode, just because I don't want anyone to think I'm pushing my own product. But yeah, I work for a company as director of sales and marketing that sells fecal immunochemical tests, which is a test used in the colorectal screening market. Right, it is primarily used for colorectal cancer screening. But the indication for use is actually colorectal. It detects blood in stool, which can be a sign of a lot of GI disorders, actually, right?
Yeah.
A lot of GI disorders, when something just like anything else, when something's going wrong, there's blood.
Right. So, hey, could you slow it down for a second? You said fecal, say it slower, because you sort of ripped through it, and it's a FIT test, F-I-T, but it's actually, go ahead.
Yeah, so it's actually, misnomer, it's a FIT, but people often say FIT test. So it is fecal immunochemical test.
Oh, all right.
And what a fecal immunochemical test does, and we'll just call it FIT from here on out, what it does is identify hidden blood in your stool, or if we're going to use actual medical terms, occult, right? OCC, OULLUT. I don't know. I didn't go to Dickinson.
Yeah.
Yeah. I read the Temple. We're not that great at spelling. So, it detects hidden blood in stool. So when we're talking about like CPT codes, right? When we're talking about billing, that's what it's looking for, right? That's the test that they run. Like Mark said, it's, you should be doing colorectal screening. The American Cancer Society, all of the major groups lowered their age limit to 45 a couple of years ago.
Why is that right?
So they're seeing they're seeing positive cases in younger and younger patients. And there's probably a lot of things that go into that, right? There's a lot of research that they're looking into. Why are younger and younger patients being diagnosed with colorectal cancer? A lot of it is likely based off of studies, diet based, right? And I'm not here to tell you to fix your diet or do anything like that, because that's not my job. But it's really dietary based, right? When people think of young people dying of colorectal cancer, which involves like colorectal cancer could be either colon cancer or rectal cancer. When people are dying of colorectal cancer, the famous person who died a couple of years ago was Chadwick Boseman, right? Who was the Black Panther in the Marvel movies. And
Jackie Robinson,
I believe.
Yeah.
Jackie Robinson. It was a great actor. Was 41, and he was. I believe he was 41. Don't correct me on that. Don't yell at me if I'm off by a year or two. But he was in his early 40s. He was diagnosed in his 30s and he had been silently, no one knew that he had it, and he was battling it. And, unfortunately, statistically speaking, um, uh, you know, uh, there are a couple groups which Chadwick Boseman was African American or Black, and that is a group that is affected statistically more prevalently with colorectal cancer, and they also have a higher death rate. And there's a bunch of stuff that feeds into that. That again, we don't have to unpack today, but statistically speaking, Black or African Americans are statistically more likely to develop colorectal cancer. So Chadwick was 41, I believe, when he passed away, like I said. And it's just a trend that they're seeing where younger and younger people. So that's why they're lowering the guidelines so that private insurance then can cover people who are 45 years of age to get, colorectal screening completed, right? Whether that be, which I'm sure we're going to unpack, a colonoscopy, a fecal immunochemical test or FIT, a FIT DNA, which is the dancing poop box. And, you have GFOBT, which is an older test that is similar to the FIT, right? So, so that's kind of where we're at, why it's lower now.
So prevalence is more common. It's prevalence of colorectal cancer is occurring in younger groups. It's also extremely treatable, as I best understand it. And the sooner you catch it, the better off, the more likely you will do well. And it's funny. And hey, here's a news flash. We all have colons, right? So like this, everybody can and should pay attention to this to the best of their ability. And you and I aren't doctors, but because of the industry and space we're in, we sort of have insight into these things and hopefully can translate them in a way that everybody sort of gets with less Latin and more sort of what should I be doing, right? And so there's multiple options. All of them are pretty easy. The gold standard is colonoscopy, which is a procedure, right? That's still the gold standard.
The gold standard. And I think people would think, because I work for a company that sells a product that is like what people use when they typically don't get a colonoscopy.
Right.
We actually, and I make, right, because I get to control sales and marketing, we're actually very pro colonoscopy. We want people to get colonoscopies. When someone is getting a FIT or a FIT DNA, it's because they find that the colonoscopy is not the best option for them. Typically, even though you can use a FIT or a FIT DNA in conjunction with a colonoscopy, right, based on the time intervals laid out. Like a FIT is every 1 to 2 years. A FIT DNA is every 3 years. A colonoscopy and a sigmoidoscopy is every 5 to 10 years, right? And honestly, if you're going to get an oscopy, as I'll call them, as an inside thing that makes me laugh, if you're going to get an oscopy, get a colonoscopy, because it's the best one, right? Because why it's the gold standard? You can go in, and not only can you identify what's going on in there, they're able to remove it at that moment, right? So if you're using a test like a FIT or a FIT DNA, we can identify the fact that you have blood in your stool, or with a FIT DNA that you have a positive result, right? Because FIT DNA is taking a FIT and then adding DNA biomarkers, right? And they're basically looking, and they have their own little internal algorithm, and they say positive, false. But those are what I would consider two-step processes, right? Because if you get a positive FIT or a positive FIT DNA, now they got to go do a colonoscopy, right? So it's not like if you get a FIT or a FIT DNA, they can diagnose you with something. You still got to go get your colonoscopy. When you get a colonoscopy, if they find something, they can address it in that process, in that moment when they identify it, right? They clip them off. Hopefully when they're in their small stage and they're not, they're just polyps and they haven't turned into cancerous polyps or cancer, adenomas, carcinoma, right? They don't reach that stage. Hopefully they get them when they're smaller. And then you're all good, right? And then every 10 years you go in, get your colonoscopy. If you're at a higher risk, you might be getting colonoscopies every year, every 2 years, every 5 years. It really depends what you have going on, right? High risk people are people who have like IBS, Crohn's disease. They're statistically more likely to develop colorectal cancer.
And IBS.
So that is why
because we don't want to use inside baseball too much. Bowel syndrome.
Yeah, so IBS would be like, irritable bowel syndrome. So those people typically, they have way higher requirements more frequently. And again, a fit or a fit DNA is not a good fit for them, right? A colonoscopy is the best people. If you're high risk, you got to get a colonoscopy. No questions asked.
Yeah. So let's talk about that, right? Let's talk about the average person out there. Like nobody really enjoys talking about this except we're doing it, but like, it's not a topic that people greatly enjoy discussing. But if we could tell people what they should go do, like I'll start because again, I'm in that spot and you're going to be there in a couple of years. You have to talk to your doctor, and insurance covers any of the tests, whatever it is. Because everybody in the insurance business even realizes the sooner we get people identified, the sooner we treat them, the better they do, better the outcomes, longer their life, everything. Right. So, I'll start. I think obviously talk to your doctor, like say something like, hey, I'm of the age group. What should I do? And then just go get it, or do it depending on what if they send you the little box, if they give you the little fit test, or if they send you for a colonoscopy, go do it. So anything else that you would, knowing what you know, because you do know more than most people who aren't a doctor or nurse, what would you suggest to people? Right. Yeah.
So I think you hit the nail on the head, right? The first thing you got to do is talk to your provider. That's the most important thing. Find out what's right for you. And as much as a colonoscopy is the gold standard, it doesn't work for everyone. And there's a lot of reasons why it doesn't work for people. Some people don't like invasive procedures. They are freaked out by the idea of getting an invasive procedure. Some people can't take time off of work. Like that's a real thing, right? You and I are blessed that we have jobs where we get vacation and we get sick leave. That's not the case for everyone, right? And then you have some people who just just don't want to get a colonoscopy. They're it's a taboo thing. Like if we could be very blunt.
Yeah.
People get uncomfortable with things going inside of them.
Anywhere.
From anywhere. Right. But that's an area that is I look at lots of studies and lots of things and that's a real thing. Right. Then people don't like the idea because it is a taboo area of the human body, which I simply say, grow up. Right. Go get a colonoscopy. Because it's not weird. It's not like I'll actually, if everyone wants to laugh and go and maybe be motivated to go get a colonoscopy, go look at the Colorectal Cancer Alliance website. They partner with a group that is a little more, we'll call, fun when it comes to colorectal screening. And it was very popular last year because Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney went and got colonoscopies and they recorded it and they did videos about it. to bring awareness to it.
Yeah.
And then this past year, they put out a video with Terry Crews as President Camacho, which again, Terry recorded himself going to get a colonoscopy. And I think those things are great because they make something that is very serious and very hard to talk about relatable to people, right? Like when I took this job and I was trying to figure out how I want to market our product moving forward, I talked to my brother who had leukemia when he was a child. I'll try not to cry. He had leukemia when he was a child. And I wanted to be sensitive to people who have cancer or screening for cancer, but they do it in a really funny way. So they're great. So the first thing I would say is go talk to your doctor. If you can get a colonoscopy, get a colonoscopy. The the Affordable Care Act now requires insurances basically to cover anything that has to do with colorectal screening because they understand how important it is. If you don't want to get a colonoscopy, you need to talk to your doctor about other options for you, whether that be a FIT DNA or a FIT. Okay. I believe the number that I saw, the most recent number is like 70% of people in the United States are up to date on their colorectal screening. The number should be 100, right? Because if you're not getting a colonoscopy, there's no reason you can't get a FIT DNA, which is done in the comfort of your own home. You poop in a little container, you send it back to a lab, they get you your results, and then you make a decision from there with your doctor. Okay. Same thing for a FIT. It's done in the comfort of your home. It's sent to a lab. You get your results. You make a decision with your doctor. Everybody can do those. And I said them in an order that ranges from most expensive to least expensive, right? FIT are way more cost effective than FIT DNA, and they're way more cost effective from colonoscopies. The United States is the only country in the world that actually does colonoscopy first. Everywhere else in the world does FIT first, and if you have a positive FIT result, you can get a colonoscopy. Okay. Everywhere else that has, we'll call it universal or government-run healthcare, right? In the United States, because we're a majority of them is private and privately run healthcare systems and everything, we're the opposite. We do colonoscopy recommended first, FIT second.
That's interesting.
I'm not here to tell you which one's better.
Yeah. No. You don't have to do that. Well, but you know what's interesting? I remember hearing actually a friend of mine who works for the Poop in the Box company. She said something that they say, and I think it applies to everybody. The best test is the one you take, right? Like,
yes, absolutely.
So, and I think that's a great way for people to think about it is check with your doctor, do what he or she urges in conjunction with you, but take a test, one of them, because that's the best test to take.
Take it. And I'll just throw out. I'm going to throw some numbers out real quick that I just want maybe will help people sink in. So here are the 6 statistics that I really like about colorectal cancer and why I think people should get screened. Okay, I'm going to read them off a screen so I don't memorize them and I don't get them incorrect. Okay, colorectal cancer is the second leading cause of cancer death in the United States amongst men and women. So obviously breast cancer is like, I think number 2 for women and colorectal cancer is third. But when you combine men and women, colorectal cancer is the second leading cause of cancer related death in the United States. An estimated 52,550 people will die from colorectal cancer in 2023, including 3,750 men and women younger than 50 years of age. Okay. 4.1% people have a combined lifetime risk of developing colorectal cancer. Okay. So, if we want to be math nerds here, which I know you love so much, that is what basically it's a little less than a 1 in 20 chance of developing. Right. Probably like 1 in 22. So, if you're in a group of 22 people, statistically speaking, one of you will probably develop colorectal cancer at some point in your life. Now, here's the important part of why people need to get screened and why you need to screen when you're supposed to screen. And don't just stop screening, right? If you're doing a FIT and you've committed to a FIT, then you got to do a FIT every 1 to 2 years. If you're doing a FIT DNA, you got to do that every 3 years. And if you're getting a colonoscopy, usually every 5 to 10 years. But again, higher risk people got to go more often. The 5-year relative survival rate for localized CRC is 90%. Okay. So that basically means if you catch cancer early in your colorectal cancer early, you have a 90% chance of living past 5 years. 5 years. Right. The 5-year relative survival rate for regional CRC is 74%. So those are your I don't have the localized stages in front of me, but that's like stage 2, like stage 2A, B. Like there are different areas of stage 2 and 3. Here's the scary one. If you get diagnosed with stage 4 colorectal cancer, which is like distant CRC, is the way that they describe it, your 5-year survival rate is 17%. And Poop in the Box has a fantastic quote on their website that basically says that what they're getting at, and it was from a doctor who gave him the quote, and I'm going to paraphrase it, was that colorectal cancer is one of 2 cancers that you can screen for and prevent, right? There's really, they're now developing screening tests for lung cancer, for prostate cancer, right? But the 2 big ones, Breast Cancer Awareness Month, we're recording this in October, right? Breast Cancer Awareness Month. You can get breast cancer. You can screen for breast cancer. Everyone should. Okay. Any cancer you can screen for, you should do it. Okay. Yeah. You should screen for breast cancer. But it's breast cancer and it's colorectal cancer. You can screen for it. That's not the case for all cancers, right? Yeah. So they were basically saying that it's really sad because it's a cancer that you can actually screen for, but only 70% of the population does. And there's a lot of reason why people don't, right? They're afraid. They're afraid of getting cancer. They're afraid of knowing, right? Maybe they can't afford it, but they don't know that there are options like a FIT, which are really affordable. And then even if you can afford it, there are groups out there that help people get FIT tests, right? The Colorectal Cancer Alliance is a great organization. They work with clinics around the United States to get affordable screening to people. So there's definitely options out there.
Yeah.
You and I were joking before we got on here. I felt like we were doing like one of those after school PSAs.
Maybe we are.
Maybe we are. And if nobody's even if I get one person by saying this to screen, I'll feel like I did my job.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's all I just want people to get screened.
It's almost not right when you have this kind of information and you know it, and for whatever reason, some people choose to listen to you. Why would you not talk about it? That's what Ryan Reynolds is doing. Like, that's what Terry Crews is doing. They're doing it and they have an audience and they're trying to do some good while they go through something that is a little uncomfortable for themselves and everybody. And I admire that. And that's, if we do a little bit of that, that's pretty cool. So, Ryan, is there someplace, I know you probably have some of it. I haven't looked recently. Is there someplace you suggest people go to learn more? Like, I know Poop in the Box has a really good education page. Any other places you would suggest? Colorectal Alliance, Colorectal Cancer Alliance?
Yeah.
Any place?
Yeah. So my company has a pretty good page, and we actually put out a fit education series. And if anyone's interested in learning more about that, you can always reach out to me. And, I will give you whatever information I feel like I'm qualified to give you. The Colorectal Cancer Alliance has a great page, and it has a great tool on their page that actually you answer some questions, and you put in some, you answer questions about your age and your risks and and it'll tell you what they recommend for you based upon you. If you want to look at a lot of statistics, you can go to the American Cancer Society. They put out reports every year. If you're a nerd, which I am, so I could say that, you can definitely dig into a level
of nerd. Yeah.
You could definitely dig into some data. Unfortunately, I don't think there's as much stuff like, the Ryan Reynolds, Terry Crews type of it's a lot of written stuff. I'm trying to fix that. I'm going to do everything in my power to fix that with, the capabilities that I have to put out short informational videos, to use social media to educate people just about getting screened. Again, it doesn't have to be a fit. I just want people to get screened, and they just need to know what their options are. Because, I don't want to say that there are doctors out there who do this or healthcare providers out there that do this, but everyone is really pro colonoscopy, and that's great. But when you have someone who says, I absolutely don't want to get a colonoscopy, you got to give them another option. You can't, that's where that, there's obviously a fair amount of things that probably feed into that 30% of people who aren't getting screened. Yeah. Right. Like, again, and we don't need to go down that rabbit hole, but like, there's probably 10% of those 30, or maybe 33% of those 30. So 10% of the total, who just don't know that there's another option. They never, like their doctor or their PA or nurse practitioner, whoever they're talking to, didn't say like, hey, well, you should do a FIT or a FIT DNA. They were just like, get a colonoscopy. Well, I don't want to get a colonoscopy. You should really get a colonoscopy. Consider it.
Right.
No, I don't want one. And then like, okay, well, we'll bring this up next time.
We tried.
And not going like, hey, try this FIT. Take it home, go into your bathroom. It takes 5 minutes 5 minutes on top of however long it takes you to go. And then you send it to a lab and you get results and you repeat the process.
Yeah. I think that was very informative, and I appreciate you doing that. And I appreciate you being comfortable talking about this. I didn't know about your brother. And it's,
well, he didn't have, he had leukemia.
We spent a lot of time here talking about number 2, but to me, you're number 1, Ryan.
That should be.
I had to put that lame joke.
Oh my goodness! You just gave me the greatest marketing idea.
Well, there. That's great. So here's a simple call to action, everybody. While Ryan comes up with this genius marketing plan, get a test. Whatever the test is, go get it. I'm going to do it. I'm making my call. I've been trying. I keep calling I keep getting the service. I'm calling Sollenberger because I'm going to get my colonoscopy. And if we really want to, I'm not going to be sharing pictures, but I will come back and tell people about it if we think we should. All right. Ryan, any last thoughts?
No, just go get screened. If you have any questions, reach out to a professional. Talk to a professional.
I love it. All right. So that was a very special Sutures and Cents, where we're usually talking about the OR, where bleeding eventually stops, always. But in this case, we're not going to talk about that sort of thing. We're going to all bleeding can get detected and fixed. How about that? That's a quick turnaround. Yeah.
There you go.
So, all right. So from Ryan and from me, thanks everybody. Let's go get tested. I'll tell you about mine someday. All right.